What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo. Today we're going to be doing a comparison between Taki and Catsuit Ivy. And Catsuit Ivy is a really great character to compare other characters to because she really has set the benchmark for other characters. She's not the strongest character. We all know that Cassandra is actually the strongest character in the game right now. However, a lot of people really disregard Taki. They say she isn't very powerful. They say she isn't very strong. And I thought comparing her to Catsuit Ivy would really put some insight on as to whether or not she really is weak or is strong in the game. So the comparisons, guys, are going to be pretty much identical. They're both at level 50. They both have identical max capsules, and they're both going to be running the new banner set. They're both going to be running this option card that does increase Soul Calibur Fighter's critical rate by 8% and critical damage by 20%. Plus, both of them are going to be also using this card here, which increases attack by 5% and critical damage by 25% whenever Soul Calibur Fighter lands an active skill. Identical card sets. Now, something to keep in mind is that if we did use different card sets, maybe they'd be different variations. But in the testing that I've done so far in the game, whether regarding Catsuit Ivy and Taki, this is actually the best card set for both of them as far as damage. From what I've seen so far, especially the way that I'm playing them, I'm just seeing the most damage out of both of the girls with this exact card set. It's been pretty phenomenal for both of them. However, I mean, this set here, there is another card that's actually really good that's got Lady Choi on it that increased critical damage, which is actually better for Catsuit Ivy. But unfortunately, on this account, I don't have it. So there is that, right? There is that to keep in mind. Something else that's different about these characters is the leaderships. Now, I'm going to show you guys two different runs. I'm going to show you a run where we're going to be using Ivy's leadership, and we're going to be showing a run where we're going to be using Taki's leadership, but Ivy as a damage dealer. And Ivy does have increased Soul Calibur Fighter attack by 40%, right? Whereas Taki, I mean, she's got a pretty insane leadership, increased AX Fighter by 50% and critical damage by 35%. Which is a big advantage, and why I'm going to show you guys a run where we're using Catsuit Ivy's leadership and where we're not using a situation where you might be using Catsuit Ivy, where you have to use her leadership in order to get the most benefits of the particular team that I'm using. But we're also going to be doing a solo with Ivy, where we're going to be using Taki's leadership. Now, something to keep in mind, guys, is that you would have to have Taki in order to do that. You would have to do pulls for the character in order to get her. Whereas a lot of players that are going to be skipping, a lot of these characters are skipping the banner and they're just, leveling up Catsuit Ivy, they're not going to have that leadership unless they have Athena. If they have Athena, then they'll have this exact leadership. Now, when it comes to the imprint stones, guys, both of them have max stones on them. They're both maxed out completely, all the Soul Calibur stones. And when it comes to their cores, I've opted to go for the max cores for damage dealing. So in Ivy's case, her attack is completely maxed out. Her penetration is level 10, the same as what Taki's will be. And her first skill is maxed out. Her second skill is maxed out because that's the main damage dealing skill that she does. And then her third skill. Catsuit Ivy's default really isn't very good as far as doing damage. It's really between these three skills. And then, of course, we have the extreme focus, right? Whereas in her affinity is at level 10. Whereas Taki, now, when I show you guys the core, it's not going to be exactly what you think it would be because I've been doing some practicing with burst here. But the runs that you're going to watch, guys, I had her attack at 25. I had her penetration at level 10. I had her default completely maxed out. I had her third skill completely maxed out. And then I had her second skill at level 4, okay? That's the setup that I was using, and I was using Soul Charge, which actually, lowers the cooldown of your finisher skill and your ultimate by 80%. And you're just doing your 3 skills and your default. I really don't want to be using any more of these to reset anything because I'm still doing some practicing with burst to see if this effect is actually any good, right? That's something I'm still kind of working on, but the builds are pretty much identical except for that. Now, the one thing that is different about both of them, guys, is the 3PGs and the effect that the 3PG offers. In Taki's case, we have increased active skill damage by 4.5%, which is pretty OP, right? Now, her 3PG effect, it does increase damage by 30% for each finisher skill used, and it stacks up to 3 times, right? Whereas with Ivy's also has a similar effect where it will increase attack by 15% for 10 seconds after using Guilty Throne, and increases Guilty Throne EX damage by 30% for each AX finisher skill used, stacks up to 3. So it's actually a little bit better buff than what Taki has, but we have critical damage by 6% instead of increased active skill damage by 4.5%. That is the one big difference between these two characters. The other small difference is the fact that I have a level 25 other card here, whereas on Taki, I have a level 20 card, but that's really not going to make much of a difference. Again, guys, the runs that you're going to watch, I'm going to be using the banner set in here, the exact same card set as what I have equipped on Ivy, this exact same card set in the runs that you guys are going to watch. And there's that reset. Not bad, not bad. I always make my videos during these resets. All right, so let's pull up the runs, guys, so you can watch it, okay? So in the first run that you guys are going to be watching, all right, you're going to see on the left we're using Ivy, and on the right we're using Taki. And these are going to be complete solos is what we're doing here. Now, for Ivy on the left here, we're actually using Taki's leadership. So she is getting that increased EX fighter attack by 50% and critical damage by 35%, whereas Taki's just, obviously using her own self-buffing leadership. That way, we're just kind of leveling out the playing field. But again, remember, guys, you would have to have Taki or Athena in order to have that leadership. So if you don't have that leadership, the results of like this comparison would obviously be different. If you're going to be using a different leadership than Taki or even Athena for Ivy, the results will be different because the more critical damage that either one of these characters have, the more damage that they're actually going to do. It's just proven. Ivy here can pretty much max out her critical rate with the setup that I have on her. So you really don't need that critical rate. You just need that critical damage because it's just unlimited as far as how much critical damage you use. And I tried to play as aggressive as I could with both of these girls to, to do as much damage as I could. And we're just going to be doing a 1 minute run as far as, how far we're actually going to be going with these girls. And yeah, and I think you guys will be surprised, right? You're going to be pretty surprised by the damage that you're really, Taki's doing. I mean, I really feel like, and I mentioned this in the past videos, with this free-to-play character in Catsuit Ivy, who is amazing, who is godly, just crazy, and everybody talks about how, she can hit that trillion marker on other account, right? There's runs out there on YouTube where she's showing that she can do 1 trillion, but there isn't any run showing that Taki can actually do it. There's a run that I saw that she's doing like about 500 billion, right, at level 50, which is pretty insane, but, I'm not gonna, give any, as far as the YouTuber guys that did it, they did make a couple little mistakes in that run. I'm not going to mention any names, but she could have done even better or even more damage than what was shown because, one, the team buffs weren't as good as what I've seen the runs with Ivy using. They weren't using Cronin. That makes a big difference. And I might explain that in another video, but the point of the video is that Taki is much stronger than people are giving her credit for. If Ivy can hit 1 trillion on an account, then from what you guys are watching right now, so can Taki. So can Taki. She can absolutely hit that trillion marker on a different account other than this free-to-play account that I'm playing on. And people really get, misled sometimes by a lot of these videos that are out there. They watch a video and they're like, oh, that character can hit 1 trillion, that character can hit, 2 trillion, whatever. But they disregard the other characters because they're not seeing any runs by those characters on those accounts, right? And you can see on the left, guys, Ivy got about 19 billion doing a complete solo with Taki's leadership. And Taki got 24 billion. I've done this run multiple times, my friends, and Taki always comes out on top. So with the exact same card set, doing a complete solo with the exact same leadership, Taki still comes out on top against Ivy. And this goes to show you guys right away that Taki could hit that trillion mark on some of those accounts. Remember, my fame system on this account is only at level 10. It's just a level 10, and my codex isn't even leveled up. So I don't put out near the damage, so I can't show you, 500 billion, trillion runs on this account, right? But if we go a little further and we do a team run where we're actually going to be using Weekend, right? We're going to be using Leona here. Now, here's where we're going to be using Ivy's leadership and Taki's leadership. And the reason for it is because whenever you're setting up a team surrounded by your damage dealer, you're going to have a meter breaker. Now, in this situation with the characters that I have on my free-to-play account, I'm using Chun-Li because she has poison and her 3PG is super long, so it works out really well as far as your tag-ins, as far as your characters, right? And then we're just going to use Leona. We're doing her 3PG right now. That way, we're going to be able to use her Weekend in the final rotation with these girls. And again, I try to play this exactly the same, guys, as far as when I bring in Taki, when I bring in Ivy, to try to keep it as level as possible. And I did these runs quite a few times in order to try to do that, to try to make it as level as I could. Now, this video isn't to crap on Ivy. Ivy's amazing, right? We're all loving her. She's godly. right? But people shouldn't disregard Taki and say, oh, she's not very good, she's not very strong, she sucks. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's really ridiculous to say something like that. You know, even in my Discord, I'll put up, you know, like Taki can hit 1,000,000,000, and I think some people don't think she can, but if she can do as much damage, if not more damage than Ivy on my account with the exact same build, the same level, everything, the same fam system, they're both blue characters, then she can obviously hit 1,000,000,000,000 on a different account. There's no doubt in my mind that she could do it, right? No doubt in my mind, right? I mean, look at this, guys, right? They're doing pretty amazing, right? And something about Taki that is a little bit better than Ivy is her 3PG is a little bit longer. So you'll notice, guys, the runs with Taki, they're going to last a little bit longer, and that does aid in damage, but that is just a part of her kit. That's just the way she's designed, right? You always have to take those things into account whenever you're comparing damage of characters, right? Having longer 3PGs is a benefit. It really is, right? I mean, Ivy's raw damage is pretty nutties, but then again, so is Taki. Right? And I know some of you guys don't like the split screen thing, but honestly, guys, to keep this video, you know, not from being an eternity long, I thought this was the best way to do it. Just have a split screen showing you guys the runs between these two girls, because honestly, this video would have been, you know, 25 minutes if I wouldn't have done it that way. And I don't think I really would have had enough to say. But then again, I can talk about anything, so maybe I would have had enough to say. But I mean, we got about 15 seconds left to spare, guys. We're going to do 1 minute run again. And again, you might be surprised. Now, again, in this run, we're using Ivy's leadership, right? And Taki's using her leadership, which is better. But as you guys can see, Taki on the right is pulling ahead as far as damage. You know, as soon as I use Leona and I use the weekend, I break the meter, I bring in both these girls and I start applying their skills and start applying their damage. Something I've noticed when people, whenever they run with Taki, is whenever they bring her in, they'll do like the 3 skills without using their EX core first. You should always hit that. As soon as you drop her in, hit that damn EX core, because all your other skills are getting buffed or default, everything. And you'll do more damage. You'll get an extra rotation of having that extra damage, and that makes a big, big difference with these characters, right? Now on the left, 63 billion, right? Pretty much almost 64 billion for Ivy, right? But with Taki, right? And guys, I went to the very last, you know, millisecond before the 1 minute mark in all these runs that you're watching, okay? To make it exactly even amongst them, okay? And as you guys can see on the right, we got 75, you know, damn near 76 billion. So Taki is doing, you know, almost 12 billion more than Ivy in the team composition, right? Now remember, you're going to have a bigger separation in damage because Taki is using her leadership in this comparison versus Ivy using her leadership, right? In the other run where we used Taki's leadership for Ivy, the damage was closer, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But when you're looking at these girls and you're just looking at the damage of them, like who's actually stronger, honestly, guys, I got to give it to Taki, man. She just does more damage consistently for me on this account. I mean, again, they're both blue characters, same fame system, the same builds, the same card sets, everything exactly the same, except for the 3PG. And that might be where the difference is at, right? You know, Taki having the extra active skill damage by 4.5%, but Ivy having an extra, I mean, guys, honestly, 6% critical damage is very, very good. Maybe they kind of balance out to where they're about the same. I'm not really sure, in all honesty, but whether or not they are balanced out, you can pretty much see that Taki's every bit as strong as Ivy, if not stronger than her. So I really think people should really stop disregarding Taki as weak, you know, saying that she's weak and she isn't very strong. I mean, that's just ridiculous, guys. She's OP as hell and definitely a character worth pulling for. Her leadership, her damage, the fact that she can restate her defaults over and over is amazing, and everybody's going to have, you know, Catsuit Ivy, so we're all winners in that respect, right? So there's no losers here. It's just, but if you have Taki, she's an awesome character, guys, especially at A5. She really is just a nutty, nutty character. And I am doing some further testing with her burst to see, you know, if she's really going to be a good support as well. And I'll let you guys know the outcome of that after I do a little bit more testing with her. I really don't have any finalized results yet. But guys, let me know what you think about this comparison and what other comparisons you would like to see. And I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. DT+7 time. The link is in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See everybody. Take care.